Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Coletti, and today I'm going to share with you my literacy journey. My earliest literacy memories came in the form of picture books. Every night before bed, my dad would read me a bedtime story, and I can always remember asking him to please read me another one, and that cycle would continue for probably three or four books. Sorry to my dad. Some of my favorite books growing up included Fancy Nancy, Chocolatina, and Chrysanthemum. Chocolatina was a really cool book. My mom's name is Tina, so I thought that was cool growing up. Fancy Nancy I loved just because of her style and her silly behavior. I grew up with two older brothers, so anything kind of girly I could get my hands on, I just loved and ate it up. Chrysanthemum was probably my favorite book growing up, and I actually put that as my favorite book in the other presentation that we did. It was just great. It celebrated being unique and being you, and I love that. And I hope to put it in my classroom one day, actually. Learning to read, for me, I remember learning to read by being put in reading groups. I can remember we were put in the levels that we were assigned. I was always a stronger reader growing up. Um, I was more reading English based than I was math science based. So reading was kind of an easier thing for me to do. I just remember reading that I can read books. And our teacher would teach us how to read by telling us to follow along with words with our fingers. And that was just super easy for me. And it was really cool because in first grade, we actually put on a first grade play that our teachers had kind of put together. They had written the play, it was based off of Kevin Hankey's and his books. And that included like Chrysanthemum and Lily's Purple Plastic Purse, and I was actually able to play the role of a narrator, which was really cool because I was able to showcase my reading skills, excuse me. Yeah. So after that, I quickly found a new love for reading. Every morning before school, I would be dropped off for morning library, and it was there you could kind of peruse the library. You could pick up a book and read it if you wanted to. You could check a book out. It was a great way for me to start my day because it was calm, it was quiet, and elementary school's crazy. So it was a lot of fun. Library media was my favorite part of the school day. I loved going to the library. Our librarian would read us a collection of picture books, or we would read a chapter book together as a class over a period of time. So that was a lot of fun for me. We would probably read something like an I Survived book or a Magic Treehouse book. And I loved those. So that was great. I also really loved The Mysterious Benedict Society growing up. That was one of my favorite books. And I really enjoyed the Dear America books as well. Um, I also started to write my own books during our creative free time during the day, which was fun. I would just write about silly things like pirates or snowmen, and almost all of my characters were my family members. So my brothers, my parents, my cousins, all of that. And then in fourth grade, I joined Lunch Bunch Book Club, which was a lot of fun because you could choose which book you wanted to read, which club you wanted to be a part of, and there were probably three or four clubs. So you kind of got to pick and choose what you wanted to do, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. We would go during lunch, we'd eat our lunch, we would read the book before in segments the night before, and then the next day discuss it. It was great. And then the first book that had ever a really big lasting effect on me was Tuck Everlasting. It was the first book to make me cry. We read it in the fourth grade as a class, and I actually remember we finished it on our own. We were doing an assignment, and then we were told after you're finished with your assignment, you can finish Tuck Everlasting. And I remember sitting in class, finishing the book, and just crying, looking around. No one else was crying. So that was a really big moment for me, and I think that really sparked my love for reading from then on out. I was pretty dedicated at that point. Um, so in middle school, I started middle school in fifth grade. That was just kind of the way my school did it. So after fourth grade, fifth grade was middle school. And that's when I became a pretty avid reader. I just started reading everything, and it got to the point where my mom would actually take me to Barnes and Noble, and she'd buy me a couple books, and literally by the end of the night, I would have finished like one of the books she had bought me, and she got really mad at me because it would be kind of a waste of money at that point. So she refused to buy me any more books, and she was like, "You have to get a library card." And I did, and I became a pretty frequent visitor. So some of the books I really enjoyed, at the start of middle school were The Sisters Grimm. I loved those stories. They were fairy tales. They took a twist on some fairy tales, and it was kind of dark, but it was kind of fun and adventurous, and it was great. And then I did fall privy to the John Green era. I loved Looking for Alaska, Fault in Our Stars, all that stuff. It was great. And then, yeah, I would just read all the time. It was an escape for me. It was a way to go into a different world. So it was a lot of fun. Once I started getting older in high school, I kind of fell off with my love of reading. Most of the books that I read were assigned for school, and a lot of them were classics. So we would read, Pride and Prejudice. We read Lord of the Flies. We read Streetcar Named Desire. A Streetcar Named Desire I actually really enjoyed. We read that my sophomore year of high school. I had an amazing teacher. She did a great job of discussing the book. It was a really big way for me to kind of understand different aspects of literature that I never really had before. In high school, I also started to write a lot more. um, I started journaling pretty much every night, which was great, and I would give myself prompts. And actually, my sophomore year English teacher would give me prompts outside of class, just so I would have some inspiration for writing. And then I also found a passion for high school forensics. So we would have forensic competitions, and I really enjoyed doing that. My senior year, I won first place for serious poetry, which was great. It was really cool. And I also started acting in high school. So yeah, it was great. We did The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie. It was a lot of fun. It was crazy. So I read a lot of plays. And now in the present day, I don't really spend as much time reading anymore. I used to a lot. I don't have as much time as I used to, which sounds kind of like an excuse, and it probably is. But I do try and squeeze a book in every now and then when I can. Um, so this summer, I read The Unhoneymooners and Tanqueray, which was great. Highly recommend both of them. They're just fun books that I was able to read. I still write when I can, not as much as I used to, like I said, but um, currently kind of being in the College of Ed. Like last year we read George, and that kind of struck a great chord with me. I loved that book, and it made me want to start reading again more. Kind of find some more magic in reading and writing. And I think as we continue throughout the semester, I'm really excited to kind of look back at my reading journey and then move forward with how I can incorporate it in my future classroom. Thank you for listening.